Hey, everybody, it is Chuck Barone. As you can see, back at the office, feeling extra chipper today. Sorry about yesterday, guys. Was feeling under the weather, and it's good to be back today, though. Feeling much better, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Just want to take a half a second, as always, welcome everybody to the show, and thank you guys a million Brazilian times for your support for the show. I know I've been a little bit inconsistent at times, but you guys got to remember I'm still working. I still got all kind of stuff in my life going. I try to get this show done every day. Sometimes stuff happens, and that was yesterday. Anyway, let's get talking about world stuff today. Did you guys see what in the hell is going on in the world over the past few days? Oh my, it just keeps getting freaking worse, guys. I don't know how it's possible where you have all of these weirdnesses happening all at the same time. A lot of these things that are happening could be prevented from happening. But instead, we're going on and on with the freaking madness. Now, you saw this port strike? This is going to be bad, guys. If this strike goes on for any real length of time, by real length of time, I'm talking about more than even just a couple of weeks, man, things are going to get funky quick. Anyway, we're going to talk about that a little later in the show. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit today about these markets and what happened today. You saw a little bit of news, not much, but the big news is that port strike. Of course, you got Iran launching missiles at Israel. World War III, here we come. Yay, these freaking knuckleheads. But anyway, so you saw that, a very negative disposition, I would say, for the market. And that's what we got today. Everything down, crazy times for sure. So stocks tanked today. The Dow down 173, 42,156 on the Dow. The NASDAQ down 278, 17,910 on the NASDAQ, and the S&P down 53, 5,708 on the S&P. So you can see, guys, stocks across the board, whoosh, bam, not a great day. And it's funny because, stocks had been breaking records. The market was looking so strong. Everybody talking about this soft landing. Oh, everything's going so beautifully. What a difference a day makes, right? Bam. The bond market, people flocking to bonds today, yields falling. The 10-year falls 6 basis points, down to 3.74%. The 2-year falls 4 basis points, down to 3.61%. So the bond market actually rallied today, and I'm guessing it was all that scared stock money going into bonds. The dollar today rallies up nicely on war always, up 51 basis points, 101.21 on the index, so the dollar gaining strength. I'm not hating that, guys. A lot of dollar, people don't want the dollar stronger. People who are exporters want their products cheaper overseas. I get that. But you know what? What's good for me is what I'm voting for, and a strong dollar is good for me. Precious metals today, in the face of a strong dollar, rally up, man. Gold rallies up $26.30, $2,661.30 for an ounce of gold. Silver rallies up 20 cents, $31.31 for an ounce of silver last I saw. So very happy with these metals prices, guys. Gold and silver have led the pack this year, beating anything else you could have possibly invested in. If you're listening to us from the very beginning, we've been telling you 10 to 15% of your portfolio, precious metals. You've had some nice gains in your portfolio this year if you've been listening to our advice. Oil today, up $2.36. But still only at $70.53 for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate. I'm telling you guys, that's the best rally they could get with this Israel-Iran war thing. Now, maybe if some other countries get involved or it looks like it's going to go on and get serious, prices might spike a little faster, a little higher. But the bias in oil, I'm telling you guys, the bias in oil is down. So we don't expect it, at least I don't, to jump from its trough we see at $70 to $75 per barrel. That's where it's going to stay. And Bitcoin today takes a beating today, just like the stock market, down $2,275. A tough day for Bitcoin, 60,907. The good news for Bitcoin, held that support number. held that 60,000 number. Now let's see what tomorrow brings. And, it's so crazy because it's all about the news cycle and what's going to occur. The market's not really just moving on earnings so much anymore. So it's been really just the weirdest situation. But Bitcoin now needing to hold that 60,000. Let's go Bitcoin. All right. Let's talk about some news and stuff today. The big news, as I mentioned earlier, this port strike. Guys, this is bad. This is the first significant port strike in almost 50 years. They haven't had one since the mid-70s because they understand when these guys go on strike, it basically paralyzes the entire friggin' country, guys. Now, this union is basically the entire East Coast. So I'm not sure if they can reroute everything through the canal and bring it up and offload in California. I'm not sure exactly if that's an option for them. But basically all the ports from Maine all the way around to Texas, done, closed, shut. The stevedores, the guys who work on those docks, very underappreciated people. There's about 85,000 in this union, and it's going to get bad, guys. The union itself talking about the effect on the company or on the country and on its economy. The union president was talking. He said, the first week, everybody just starts to looks at it. The second week, well, guess what? Car dealerships can't sell cars because cars aren't getting offloaded. So the car dealerships aren't taking any new deliveries. They can't sell cars. About 3 weeks into it, malls are having trouble because what are they selling? Clothes and stuff that's being imported. All that shuts down. And on it, the dominoes just start to fall. Boom, 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 boom. Layoffs start. All kind of construction materials come from overseas. Steel comes from overseas. Think of everything, guys, like it's imported into this country, now getting shut off. I'm telling you, it could have a big effect on a ton of stuff. The union negotiator used the word cripple the U.S. economy. Okay, that sounds pretty freaking serious, right? They're going to block the the import of literally everything. Like I said, ports from Maine all the way around Texas shutting down. So the shutdown will lead to a spike in unemployment if demands are not met in a short period. This could turn into something really big, guys. Prices are going to start to spike right away. Our corporate buddies, they see an opportunity to raise prices, they're going to take it, okay? So you're going to start to see prices spiking back up, shortages of product and materials to make products, which is going to really set everybody off, because what's going to happen is, we'll get into the effect on the Fed and inflation in a second. This is going to affect the entire economy, guys. If it drags on, like I said, for more than about a week or 2 weeks, we're going to really be starting to get some deep, 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 deep stuff. Think of it, guys. Cars, clothes, food, shelter, steel. The list is just so long of everything we import. Imagine not being able to get that stuff supplies. So what's going to happen is, in spite of all the Fed's best work, right? In spite of all the suffering everybody's gone through with these higher rate cuts or higher rates, right? Rates, boom, 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 boom. Can't buy houses. Everybody freaking out. Everything sucks. Now they finally managed to start cutting rates, getting the economy back on a more normal footing. And here comes this friggin' disaster. Guys, it could literally, this kind of spike. Now, granted, the Fed's going to understand that the spike is only probably going to be temporary. But here's the thing. After this all unwinds, okay, let's say the strike goes on for 30 days and everything's a big fucking mess, right? What's going to happen is they settle the strike and all of this backlog of stuff is going to be just sitting there waiting to be offloaded, these boats. So it's going to take them another, I'm guessing, 3 to 6 months to get everything caught up and kind of get everything back to normal. So every little delay is going to make everything just pile up on the backside of things. And it just doesn't take long for it to slip away where you lose control of the situation. And now the Fed is going to be forced to act. Now, again, they're going to know it's short term. They're going to know once they get this all entangled, prices typically will come down a little bit or stop rising. But it really has a chance of upsetting the apple cart in a big, big, big way. I'm going to guess that before too long, the government's going to get involved. You're going to hear everybody screaming bloody murder. Biden, get up off your friggin' wake up from your nap, buddy, and get to work here. It's going to be really bad. And it started already. So now already, I'm telling you, it doesn't take long. Okay, the stuff that was supposed to be shipped today that arrives on the port, boom, it goes out. Guess what? Didn't get shipped. So that's how fast it starts. Now, the people that are expecting these shipments aren't going to get them. So now they're going to have their issues to deal with. And the ripple effects, guys, it's just going to be, after all of this bullshit we've gone through, now to have everything upset like this over something so silly. Now listen to this. The union is asking for a 77% increase in income. Now, I guess that's over a few years, not all at once. Boom, okay, double our pay, basically, right? But over a course of years of this contract, a 77% pay increase for dock workers. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. At first, everybody's going to be shocked by the size of that number and pissed off at these guys like they're being greedy. And then after a short time of these guys being on strike, everybody's going to understand how important these jobs are. Remember back in the days of COVID, what did they call them? The employees who were necessary, they had to show up. There was a word for them. As soon as it was over, boom, right? They were all disposable again, essential workers or whatever the hell they called them. So you're going to find out though that these dock workers really, really are essential because everything moves through these ports. Boy, I mean, everything. It's going to be nuts. All right. So now let's move on from that because I'm telling you guys, you're going to hear about this in the news today. You're going to hear about it, and it's going to get louder because it's already, in the beginning, it's quiet. Plus, there's a vice presidential debate tonight, so that's got everybody's attention. Oh, my. So nobody focusing on the important stuff here. But I'm telling you, this strike, if it goes on, is going to get the media and the world's attention. Believe it. All right. BlackRock, Larry Fink, pretty smart guy, right? He says that bets on deep cuts by the Fed are, quote unquote, crazy. He says talk of a hard or soft landing is stupid because it's a moot point because there will be no landing. He said the economy is humming around. I don't see any landing, hard or soft. And he makes a point there, right? I mean, if after this cycle, I guess if the economy is going well, they would call it a soft landing, but he doesn't really see it that way, which I thought was an interesting take on that. Now, he says the markets are pricing in way, way, way too many cuts. He said the Fed isn't going to go deep on rate cuts while the economy is doing well. While GDP is growing at 2 to 3%, there's no reason to cut rates to spur economic activity, even though real estate is going to catch up and those GDP numbers will come down a little bit. We need rate cuts in real estate to even get it resembling any kind of real normal market again. I just thought it was interesting that this guy was a pretty bright guy. He says that markets are pricing in 2 points in cuts by the end of next year, 2025. Fink said that that's really probably unlikely because government policy tends to be inflationary rather than deflationary. So the government, with the economy going well and the government doing what the government does, he's saying there's not going to be a lot of room for cuts because the economy is going to be going well and you're not going to cut to create more inflation, right? So I thought that was a very, very interesting take on this because just a little bit different than most people. Most people are pro-cut. Let's do it. Let's get these cuts done. Some people even wanting more than what they're already predicting. So I thought it was an interesting take that he's at least one voice that's respectable is saying that's not going to happen. It's crazy. U.S. median income. U.S. income on the rise, man. I think it's kind of cool. We're getting income up. Sad news is, the prices are going up, right? What up with it? But the U.S. median household income, which is around 70 to 75,000 forever, it seemed like, has now passed 80,000 for the first time. $80,600 is the median household income here in the U.S. Now, the household typically refers to 2 jobs. But it's reflecting, we've been seeing the statistics, wages up, wages up, wages up. This now reflecting this in the economy. It's kind of cool. Sounds good. Income's up, 80,000, nice. Problem is, rising wages should have people happy, but nobody's happy. Listen to these numbers, guys. 48%, so basically half of people who make 100,000 per year or more are living paycheck to paycheck. Missing one paycheck would really hurt them financially. This is one person income more than 100,000. Crazy, man. Now listen to this. People making 200K. Now this is one person making 200,000. 36%, more than 1 in 3 of people making over 200,000 per year, living paycheck to paycheck. What does that tell us? The chances for the guy at this median income, 80,000 per household. What are his chances, guys? If an individual earning 100,000, if half of those people are living paycheck to paycheck, 36% of people making 200K living paycheck to paycheck. What in the hell kind of chance does a household with 80,000 got to really get ahead? I'm telling you guys, things might seem to be on the surface like they're going okay, but if you dig down just a little underneath that surface, you find stuff like this. Now, here we are in October. A lot of people talking about October being such a funky month for stocks, right? Can this rally make it through October? Now, the interesting thing is, when there's a rally in September, when the market is up in September during an election year, which this is, 80% of the time, October is also up. We were up in September, eked out a gain. So 80% of that tells us that there's an 8 in 10 chance that the market will be up this October. Now, you have some wild cards to consider, like a frickin' port strike where they're going to cut imports into this country. The good news is our import deficit will fall for a little while. I can't wait to see now how long the strike's going to last. Because I'm telling you guys, this is top of mind. Imagine if it lasts 6 months. There would be nothing to buy. So let's see what happens. Anyway, that's it for the day. I appreciate everybody's support. We'll be back here tomorrow. I'm back in the office, so I'll be back here every day. Let's rock and roll. Much appreciated, everybody on the chat here. Good to see my friends back. David Molly, we got Jerry on today. We got Dean and a few others. Nice to see you guys smoke. Anyway, tomorrow's another day. Let's see what happens tomorrow. We'll be getting data toward the end of the week. We know we got the big jobs number coming Friday. Let's see where that looks like. Anyway, guys, that's it for the day. Everybody go have a good evening this evening. We'll be back tomorrow to bring you the news you need. Until then, everybody.